Hi guys, this is CT Johnson, the funding doctor, and today is day 128 of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. Something a little bit surprising to me is that I'm starting to see actually some larger deals coming into the market, and I wanted to talk about how that was viewed. I mean, you would kind of imagine, or I would kind of imagine, that larger developers or developers who have larger projects, that they are sort of know the market better and have closer relationships with some of the lenders. And in some cases, that's true. But I've come across a number of situations where that's not true, and where some of the larger developers are actually struggling to get their developments funded. So I wanted to talk about the steps in getting there. So I'm going to tell you today about how to get funding for your large scale project. So I have 7 steps. This is CT's 7 steps to getting your large project funded. Number 1, get organized. If you have listened to any of my webcasts, you'll know that this is something I say all the time, and it's only because it is true. I am constantly amazed by the fact that people don't have their stuff together, but it's really, really important to have the DA, to have your permits, to have the construction contract done. If pre-sales have been executed, let's have a list of those, all of that stuff ready to go, because the lender is going to ask for it. Number 2, get evaluation. This is another one that just shocks me frequently, is that people are talking about 60, 70, $100 million developments and they don't have evaluation done. Or even worse, they've had evaluation done and they've had it done on a basis which is not really realistic. So valuations need to be done, as if, first of all, it needs to be done by somebody who is acceptable to the lenders. If you have questions about that, about who an acceptable valuer is, who the different valuers use, then please give me a shout. Frequently, I got to tell you, it comes down to 2 things. One is the viewpoint that the valuers have. Some of them are more optimistic, some of them are more pessimistic, some of them have just a sort of a focus on the market in a particular area. The other thing is the insurance that they have. So some of the valuers that are out there, their insurance won't allow them to assign the valuation to a non-bank lender, and that just doesn't work at all. So talk to me about that if you'd like to know who is acceptable. Second thing is, it needs to be done on a first mortgage basis. This is not some abstract exercise that we're going through to see in some theoretical world what this would be worth. The question is, what's it going to be worth to somebody to give you money? And they're going to want to do that on a first mortgage basis. It needs to be both as if completed, and as is. What is it if we just sold it today? Those bases. And the other thing is that you want to get a project-related site assessment to go with it. So get all of those things. That will give you a lot of, that'll make things move a lot faster in the process and make it a lot more certain that you get the financing that you want. Number 3, pre-sales. I have to say that during COVID-19, pre-sales have just become so important. So, prior to COVID-19, if I go back 6 months, virtually every deal that I was doing was a no pre-sales deal. And the lenders are quite happy with that. Whenever I had pre-sales come to me, a project with pre-sales, I viewed that as a bonus, and that frequently made it easier. It made it more people who were interested, and you could get more competition on the price, but it wasn't required. Now I have to say almost all of the lenders that I deal with, they're requiring pre-sales. So get those in order. Number 4 is one that surprises me a little bit, but it's, again, something that really, bears repeating. Have the equity ready. So for some larger developers, you would imagine, or you sort of think that the equity is there and ready to go because they have strong balance sheets. But often the issue is that they don't have a lot of liquidity and they don't have a lot of cash to complete. So they're going for highly leveraged positions, or just the equity in general. They're trying to force themselves into a situation where it's a low equity type deal. I have one guy who is, God love him. He is a wonderful guy. I love to have a beer with him, love to sit and talk with him, but heaven help me, he is basically always asking for 100% LVR. And I don't understand why, because he's an experienced guy, and I know he's never gotten it, and I know he's not getting it from me, and I've never heard of any deal like that, and so I don't understand what the basis is, but nonetheless, that's always a starting position. So to me, that's just sort of a waste of time, and keeps you from understanding what's actually out there. So have the equity ready to go. Number 5 harks back to number 1, which is have the documents ready to go. Have the feasibility, have the asset and liability, have, the name of the borrowing entity, all of those things. It is really kind of an arrogance that I run into occasionally with some of the larger developers, is that they'll basically just start talking to me about the name of the development, as if that has meaning to me or to the lenders. And that will automatically tell me who the sponsors are and what their background is and things like that. And, I have to say, lenders see hundreds, sometimes they see thousands of deals a year. And so they need to know sort of the details around it. So make it easy for them. There's nothing bad that happens to you out of that. If anything, it can only help the deal go through. It certainly helps it go faster. Number 6, be informed about the market. So people are starting to get better about this, but I do still occasionally run into developers who still are kind of living in the pre-COVID world, and they're asking for stretch senior facilities that they just have LVRs or they're asking for a GRV type loan even that's just not achievable. So, have an idea of what's going on and what's realistically achievable, because again, the best you're doing is losing time, is wasting time, and that's not serving anybody. And then the number 1 thing is focus on the end goal. It's almost always the case that especially if you're a large developer, frequently you have a pipeline of projects, and you can't really afford to sit around and wait for one particular financing transaction to go through. So that argues for be organized, know what's going on in the market, focus on getting a good deal and a deal that you can work with, and not trying to get hundreds of different sources to bid on it, trying to get overseas groups to bid on it, trying to get the last quarter point out of the deal. That can work sometimes, but more often than not, it's just, again, wasting time and pissing off the lender who doesn't give you the money in the end. So that is CT's guide to getting large projects funded, my 7-step guaranteed way to get money for your deals. If you have a large a large project that you'd like to talk to me about, or if you have questions about anything else in this video or any of my previous videos, please give me a shout. My name is CT Johnson, and I'm the Funding Doctor. Cheers.